describe somebody that exemplifies this internal maturity as you describe? What are the behavioral traits?
I mean, I think everybody probably has a different experience of that, but my experience of that is when I actually understand that in the business world we compete, right? So last week, I'll give you an example of what happened to me last week, and I can tell you who I thought the leaders in the room were. I could find them. We had 32 leaders in the room. 32, 4 times 8. Those 32 people were divided into teams of 8. They were then handed, we were there for a whole week. They were handed a business case, right, this case, and they had to basically put together a solution to that case. And then they presented that solution in front of the CEO, CFO, this group in the company. And I was one of the faculty. My job was to teach them how to, and this is an interesting thing that I did because I have a financial background. I'm a CPA and merger acquisition guy. My job was to get them to see that financial fluency, understanding how financial things work, which is the decision-making language in the corporate world, connects somehow to their leadership maturity. Because anytime you use a decision-making language, right, that's the language of leaders, and that those leaders use that language in order to enlarge that space. That was my job, was to communicate that to them. And I sat in the back of that room, and I rooted, you can imagine, I had 4 teams, and I'd worked with all 4 of those teams, right? So who am I rooting for? I'm rooting for every single one of those guys. I'm telling you, man, there was no bigger cheerleader in the back of the room. Every single time they got up there, I had taught those people, those were my guys. And to me, the greatest leaders of those groups were 3 teams lost and 1 team won. And on those teams, there were leaders who were happy for the team that won because they had people on that team that in some way, shape, or form, they were related to, connected to, or had worked with. And they didn't feel that they were not concerned at all about their loss. They were just really happy that somebody they loved had won. And to me, if you asked me what leadership, what maturity or leadership about, it's when your own personal losses don't matter because you're full of this incredible, nourishment that says, somebody I love won. That's my version of it. Like I said, there's probably lots of others. For you may want to create your version of what it means to you, but it might look something like that. Yeah.
In the world, you said that there's leaders, and you're searching for the leaders. Do you usually also find them in Ivy Leagues or this common,
That's a really interesting, thing. I think it depends on the person, and where they come from and what their experience has been. Do the Ivy Leagues have great education? Yeah, they do. I don't think that there's any doubt about that. Do I find that leaders particularly come from the Ivy League schools? No, the CEO was from Wake Forest, which is a school in North Carolina. The first merger acquisition partner that I worked for at Pricewaterhouse, the best I had ever found, graduated from a place called Spring Hill College in Missouri. So that, I don't think it even exists anymore. I went to Riverside City College. Go ahead.
So is it network then?
No, it's. I always call it working like a donkey. To me, when I look at leaders, I always ask myself, is this person willing to do whatever it takes? Are they willing to work like a donkey? Is that the basic floor level of who they are? And to me, that makes the best leaders. I don't care what their education, they can come from anywhere. But are they really willing to stand in there and do whatever it takes to deliver? And that's the internal piece that I look for. And when people tell me things like, I graduated top of my class at Harvard, and I know I may not be the smartest guy in the room, and they're saying that sincerely, but they'll tell you, I'll work with anyone. You want to go compete? I'll stay on the floor as long as anybody in this place. And that, to me, at least for me, that tells me, so I don't care if you're from UCR, Riverside City College, whatever, If you've got that, there's a good likelihood you're going to be working at the top somewhere.